Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. So, guys, we've talked a lot about energy, life force, what's possible, what's not possible. We've talked a lot about intermittent fasting, the benefits of water fasting, dry fasting as well, and how fasting has been shown to basically do wonders for the body, inducing a stage of autophagy where the cells actually clean themselves out of any dis-ease. It could also basically help us to eliminate cancer before it builds up, as the body should be able to naturally break down toxic substances. And so we've also talked about QiGong and Reiki and Pranic healing and many different types of energetic exercise and practice as well. So as we see here, everything is energy, and this man's really interesting in and of himself. This man from a distance can send his chi, his life force, and he's been shown basically putting to sleep cows and bulls from a vast distance, like 100 yards away, and just simply sending his energy, and you'll see them one after one as he points to them, going down and just laying down the ground and going soundly asleep. So he can do amazing things. He's a Qigong master, and many people can. As it says here, everything is energy. As Einstein told us, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. And so we could look at that as energy, as everything evolves. Everything changes. It doesn't stay stagnant at all. We also know through Kirlian photography now, we could see biophotons. Biophotons are real things. You and I, we give off light. And we can also absorb light at the same time and draw light into us. So we're understanding now so many of the mysteries of the East with things like QiGong and Reiki and Pranic healing and how they actually work. Truly, these are amazing times when we could have science verifying so many of the esoteric traditions and philosophies. We know we are more than just the physical body. The physical body is just the densest body. It's the densest body of many bodies. And actually, we don't even really know how far out we extend with different bodies. As you see here, this chart basically is alluding to it's infinite. And so when we walk into a room and somebody else is in the room and maybe they're having a bad day, it's something we could actually feel because parts of our energy bodies are actually merging with theirs and we're picking up on their energy. That is a real thing. Think about how that was viewed just decades ago as, oh, that's quote-unquote new agey. That's quote-unquote psycho-garble garbage. It's not. It's actual science. It's just science that hasn't been understood by the masses. But when we get down to it, the masses have been in the dark for so long. And part of it is the system we live in. So as you see here, the etheric, and as I was explaining in a video yesterday, basically when conception happens, the etheric is a template around what's going to be the physical body. The cells go through cellular division, and they fill the blueprint that the etheric body has laid. And so they go into and take that form. And so we can change our blueprints. This is something we can do through intent, through mantras, through affirmations, through visualization. We could change our blueprint. We could actually change our own DNA. And by drawing in cosmic energies, mutations do occur. And not all mutations are negative. They're not all malevolent. They can be beneficial in many ways. And so you see the etheric, the astral, the mental, and the causal, and there's so many other layers that go out beyond that. It's time for us all to use the Force. We've been exposed to Star Wars for about 42 years now, and so many people thought this was just, a story. The Force, that's just a story. That's just George Lucas. He dug it up. No, this is out of Taoism. And this is all about prana, ki, chi, vril. It's life force energy, which is what's really animating our body. And we could draw it up from the earth. We could draw it in through every single pore in our body. We could also draw it down from above. And there are so many different traditions around the world that have the same sorts of exercises that we've talked about. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, I'm going to share with you hopefully later today, the lesser banishing ritual of the hexagram as well. And there's so many QiGong practices, Taoist practices, Native American practices, Wiccan practices, all sorts of practices that are basically doing the same thing. It's drawing in the life force. And we've talked about the Ida, the Pingala. These are the masculine and feminine energies, energy channels that flow back and forth, intersecting with the major chakras. And you have the Sushumna that goes straight up the middle. When the Kundalini is activated, energy flows up into the pineal gland, awakening it and illuminating us to new experiences, new realities, new dimensions of existence. And going back to that energy body, the only one that eats physical food is the physical body. Otherwise, it is truly all energy. And even the physical is just the energy, it's energy at a much slower vibratory rate. When you learn a technique called pore breathing, you can draw in tremendous amounts of chi, life force, prana. And I do have a video on pore breathing. And interestingly enough, as far as the QiGong videos I've done, it's one of the most watched ones. But I will share with you that this technique is what I believe got me over Lyme disease. And that was about 20 years ago. It is amazing and incredibly powerful. And when you could draw the life force in, amazing things happen, amazing changes happen. This is Wim Hof, and Wim Hof has done things that you're not supposed to be able to do. No human is supposed to be able to do, and he does it through breathing techniques. And he just shows what is possible. He has so many Guinness Books of World Records. It's amazing. The things that he has done should have killed a normal person many, many times over. And he has students now that have been able to duplicate the things he's doing, which is, again, it's all about conscious application of breathing principles and knowingly taking in the life force. And it can be used in many different ways. So this is Prahlad Jani. And this man says he has not eaten food for 70 years. And not only that, but he doesn't even really drink on a regular basis. And, that is something that tons of debunkers come out and say that's just totally impossible. And so right off the bat, I want to say I'm not advocating that we all quit eating food. It would be a very, very slow and long process for most people. But I do think it's something that could be possible. And what happens is that we learn to take in the life force. Look at plants. Plants use photosynthesis. They basically take in the light from the sun. And ultimately, all energy that we are receiving is ultimately light from the sun in one way, shape, or form, as our bodies truly are stardust when you get down to it. So he has been monitored more than once in strictly controlled experiments, including by the Indian Ministry of Defense, right? So obviously, they're looking at this for applications with soldiers. And they obviously are thinking there's something to this, otherwise they wouldn't monitor this. Now, the debunkers come out on this topic big time, and they attack people that talk about breatharianism. And, there's a big reason why, because there's money to be made. And can you imagine if people could cure disease by fasting, if they could stop their dependence on the system because they no longer had to worry about eating and drinking and having, spending as much money as they do on eating and drinking. And if people aren't getting sick and people aren't being consumers, then there's a lot of money to be lost. So there's an awful lot of lobbies out there that, in my opinion, actually pay debunkers. They're on the payroll to go and to be trolls and to just basically put this down very quickly. Because if so much of our disease is being caused by so much of what we're taking into our body, then that's going to cost so many of these industries tremendous amounts of money, and they're going to lose their grip on their ability to control us. And so when I see the level of trolling that goes on so many of the sites and really anywhere that we talk about these type of practices, it's very obvious to me that it's people that are very deeply entrenched for the most part in these lobbies, such as, obviously, well, I'm not going to mention them because we don't want to get these videos demonetized, as that's how they basically try to shut us up. But you guys could figure out who this is that we're talking about. So this would change everything if we're truly able to live on light. And again, many people that are quote-unquote practicing breatharians, just like Christ when he came back in his resurrection body, if you are of that belief system, they choose to eat here and there, but they're just not dependent on it anymore. It's not a necessity. It's a choice, and that's a huge difference. Big difference. Think about how empowering it is. If we could get by, even if we could get by with less calories and less nutritional intake than what is thought to be possible. And how many people have been killed by limiting beliefs? That's a big question I got out there for you guys. What do you think about that? How many people have died because they've been given some diagnosis that convinces them that they are going to die? And because beliefs are powerful, and we know from quantum physics that it's all about the observer. Reality conforms to the observer. So if you have a limiting set of beliefs, your reality is going to be very limited. And you're not going to be able to do things that somebody like this could do because his belief system is completely the opposite of that. So the findings were so incredible when they monitored him that, you still had people saying they didn't believe it, even though he was monitored continually. He was scrutinized twice under strict watch of dozens of medical experts and CCTV control. So they watched everything. And he didn't eat and he didn't drink. He did bathe after 7 days. So they would tell you, science would tell you, that if you don't drink water in maybe 3 days or more, you're going to die. And, in fact, there is one registered dietitian in here saying it's extremely dangerous to even go 1 day fasting. 1 day. I've fasted 1 day hundreds of times. And I always feel better after it. So in 2003, he stayed for 10 days in the hospital under round-the-clock surveillance. He had no access to food or water. Toilet was sealed, and the clothes and the sheets were scrutinized for traces of urine because he didn't pee, he didn't poop. He didn't do either of those things. There's videos here for you guys to check it out for yourself. And for the first 7 days, he didn't come in contact with water at all. Afterwards, he was allowed to gargle and bathe, and the water was measured before and after. And as this particular doctor says, it was as if a bomb hit us. We couldn't believe that somebody could do this. But when we look at what Wim Hof has done, he's done amazing things too. Just incredibly amazing things too. Fact is, our science and our so many of our researchers and so many of our institutions are controlled by lobbies that want to give a particular reality to the public. And as we go deeper and deeper in, discover new science, we understand that so much of what we believed was right was absolutely wrong in many, many ways. As this statement, we are all scientifically educated and research-orientated doctors. We racked our brains, and it was as if the greatest surprise of our hitherto existing life, as if a bomb had hit us. They had no idea that this could have happened, and he would have been expected to be dead after 5 to 6 days for sure. Instead, his blood counts were in the safe range the entire time. And again, he didn't pee, he didn't poop. All his systems operating fine. And so in 2010, he was scrutinized again, this time 15 days, without eating, drinking, or urinating. 36 medical experts involved, and that time the Indian Defense Institute was the exclusive authority. And again, he did fine. Absolutely no issues. So what do you think about that? And I have basically about 5 stories you could read about him, just so you could see it's coming from many different sources. He is now like 91 years old, and it's just amazing. He's not the only one. He is not the only one, and this is kind of a wiki on him. And so he had a spiritual vision at 7 and was told basically that he was not to eat or drink anymore by a goddess. So he says. And so he did. And he has been an example. Now, sun gazing. Can we actually take life force in from the sun directly and so bypass the whole digestive process? It's very interesting, and I didn't think to pull it up for this video, but there was, I think it was out of a book I was reading, because I've read several books, and there are many what we would call saints in many different traditions, both Christian and also Hindu and also Buddhist, as well as others, who have not eaten for years. And it's just been a well-known thing. And they've done amazingly well, not been sickly. And also in many cases, they've been the people that have been actually able to perform incredible, miraculous healings. And so can we bypass the whole digestive process? And what I was going to get to was, in that book, it said that it's not really that we use the food itself, but that it triggers a process in our body in which we pull the nutrients from the ether, from all around us, from the energy. We actually can pull them and pull the things that end up making up the nutrients, as the life force is the ultimate source. And so here you see every day a group of women in Hong Kong head down to the beach to stare at the sun and cut their appetite. And so sun gazing, it's recommended you do it briefly and just when it's first coming up or first starting to set. And again, that's something I encourage everybody to look into for yourself before attempting. Research it in depth, prepare yourself, and it can most definitely change things. And that was when I was doing my personal best and finding it very, very easy to get by pretty much indefinitely with just a little fruit here and there or a salad here and there. And I seemed to stabilize at a certain weight, and honestly I had tremendous energy and felt just incredible clarity that you don't feel when you're eating a lot of heavy food. So sun worshippers in China are bringing a new meaning to the term eating light. So every day a group of barefoot women descend upon the Samka village beach in Lei Yue Moon, Hong Kong, to stare at the sun for up to 44 minutes. They're not tanning, but rather they're trying to consume the solar energy of the sun. And so they believe the sun's nourishing rays can cut down their appetite for caloric, plant or animal-based food. And pretty much all of them have found that is the case. They've lost weight, they feel better, they have less disease going on, less aches and pains, more energy. And again, in sun gazing, usually you would start out with a much, much smaller period of time, just a few minutes. And again, research it for yourself if you're going to go check it out and try to do it. And so I think we have been fed a lot of perhaps sometimes intentional disinformation, other times well-meaning, most of the time probably very well-meaning because people are just reiterating what they're told. So often we truly are parrots, and all we are doing is just mimicking and saying things that we've heard elsewhere without really thinking, without really experiencing for ourselves. We see that all the time in unfortunately, the religious debates on things, where all that people would say is what they've been taught, what they've been just conditioned to say, that conditioned response. 80%, more than 80% of what we think every day is the same thing we thought yesterday. And there's so little original thought until we go within, until we start to learn to reprogram ourselves on so many different levels. So we see here a wellness guru basically calls looking directly at the sun a form of free medicine. And so this is Pete Evans. And so he's another guy that's doing sun gazing. He's an Australian celebrity chef, and an Instagram wellness guru. And there's countless people that are doing this. And, the amount of people that are doing this would surprise you, most definitely. But because we're in the time of the unveiling, the apocalypse, basically, which just means the unveiling, we're learning from each other, from different cultures, about different people that are doing this. And so Living on Light was one of the most well-known books on this subject. And this is Jazz Muheen and her site. And so she has been somebody that has been reportedly living on light for many, many decades now. And then so you'll see others say, well, hey, this is all about making money. Look, she's selling books, she's selling programs. And then there's also Ray Maor, who is very, very interesting. I've watched a lot of his videos as well. And so he's another one that basically said he went a year without food and felt amazing. And now he eats just when he wants to. And he has a big YouTube channel and he has tons of videos. And, he has his own program. So yeah, sure, people are making a living on this, on teaching others how to do this. So there's a lot of people that would say that's all they're into. This is just their hook. This is how they're going to make their living. But how many people make their living doing what they want and doing what they feel is their life's mission? I mean, ideally, that's what we should all be doing, is making our living our life's purpose. Is that not the highest and best path for our lives in this system? And so this is Brahman Minor and his partner there, Amudra Mahura, and they're also breatharians, and they also have their program again. So, we could fault them for saying that they make money on this, but then, people make money on all sorts of things, including things that really are harmful to people, truly harmful. And obviously, we should not go and starve ourselves to death if we are, living on Big Macs and McDonald's and Wendy's and the like of that. It wouldn't be a good idea to even fast for a day at first, probably, if you're doing that. You would have to really ease into it gently as possible. Now, if you are somebody that's been a regular faster on a regular schedule, have done it for years, then you can ease into something like this, and maybe first go 12 hours completely on a dry fast, which is no water and no food, and then maybe you could extend it to 24 hours. And I'll share with you, I have not dry fasted, so that's always been something that in my mind was a little bit tougher, and that's just my own little mental glitch perhaps, but I have water fasted many, many times. Probably over 100 times or more, and I have juice fasted even more than that, 10 times that. So it's just a regular way of living, and it does give your body time to basically get rid of the toxins. And so this is Erica Whithoon, and she's another one that is another breatharian, and I'll give you the link so you could watch this conversation as well. So, is it possible to live on light? Is it possible to live on prana, ki, chi, vril, life force? I do think it's possible. And I do think also, because we're going through the ascension process, that we are changing. We are changing. Our whole structure is changing. Our DNA is changing. Our molecular structure is changing. Most of us, especially the ones that are listening to this channel and this type of information, you're on that upward path. You're on the ascension path. You're feeling the vibrations and the energy around you every day. Every day you're feeling more like you are pure energy, and a little bit less solid, a little bit less dense. And you could take that in many ways as well. So what is possible? Well, I think really with humans, the sky is the limit. And I think that we're on that upward trajectory as well. And as always, it's up to the individual to do their research and decide for themselves. So my friends, as always, like, share, subscribe. I want to invite you to come join the family over on Patreon and support the channel in that way as well. For as little as $1 a month, you can become a Patreon, and there'll be some videos that go up there that don't go up on YouTube. And then come and join us on both channels, Evolutionary Energy Arts and also on EEARTS. So as always, my friends, I look forward to your comments and thoughts on this subject. Share your experiences as well. God bless and namaste.